Welcome back to Empowered and Out, the podcast for LGBTQ plus for professionals who are done playing small and ready to thrive as their full, authentic selves. Today's guest is Garner, a powerhouse sales and training professional with years of experience in both consumer and corporate spaces. She's also a fierce advocate, a sports fanatic, a music lover, and someone who deeply believes in showing up for community. From growing up queer in Indiana to navigating corporate spaces as a Black out professional from the 1990s through today, Maya brings perspective, heart, and grit to every space she enters. She's also doing incredible work educating our community on financial literacy and estate planning, because protecting our futures is just as important as building them. This conversation dives into what's changed, what hasn't, and what it truly means to show up with pride, especially when it hasn't always felt safe to do so. So Maya, welcome to Empowered and Out. I am so glad that you're here.
Thank you so much. And thank you for that remarkable introduction. I was just like, wow, that's me.
It is. Yes, it is. Through got a little help. I'm not going to, deny. I can't not say that the good old power of AI doesn't make everything sound better. I mean, come
Right.
on. But I mean, you gave me the information. It just tweaked it a little bit.
Just a
So
little.
just a
I
little
like.
bit. Awesome. Well, let's get started. So let's take it back. What was it like being out in the workplace in the late 90s and early 2000s? And what were some of those risks and realities that you faced?
Two words, very hard. Extremely hard when you look at it today. The risks you ran into losing family, losing friends, even, being denied from your church. A lot of things. So it was very scary back
Uh-huh.
then. And, still be to this, not as scary today.
Right.
But then, people lost their jobs over it. People lost out on all types of opportunities because of it. So when I look back at what I've gone through, it in a way, I kind of could say I had to play the game a little bit, and I kept my private life, my personal life, very private and limited trust with a lot of people.
Yeah, oh, for sure. And I think, just to follow up with that, how do you think that compares to being out today?
Today, it's a different story. There's still fear,
Uh-huh.
definitely. There's still fear, but I don't think that it's anywhere near what it used to be in the 80s and 90s. No, nowhere near that way. You've got a lot of companies now, people, groups, very inclusive, even at a religious standpoint. There's so many, affirming churches out there now that wave the rainbow flag outside of their church, which I never thought I'd see that day. But
Me as well. Yeah, I never thought I would see that either. And it's really cool to see that. Like
it
driving
is.
around like here where I am, like in certain areas that I was like, really? That's a pride
Mhm.
flag. All right. Cool.
Yeah, yeah. So, for these younger generations today, hey, you're welcome. I mean, you could say that definitely in other, cultures and races, I mean, because it did. Our parents and great grandparents, they paved the way for us. So
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
a lot of sweat and tears went into where we are today.
For sure, yeah. So you've mentioned the intersection of being Black and LGBTQ plus at work. How has that shaped your experience professionally?
It's definitely made me a stronger woman. I'm very analytical, people will tell you, but it has really shaped me to develop that individuality and stand strong as a female, Black, lesbian, Democrat. I just hit every one of the boxes,
Check, 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 check. Yeah.
in the United States.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
Yeah.
and growing up in the Midwest, I've learned a lot throughout the years, not only just with family, friends, and jobs I've had, but, a lot of my career, again, personal life was very private. I did not let
Mhm.
anyone in because that trust wasn't developed. And even as I, reached longevity in with certain companies, things started to change, but you were just like, No, not yet. And then when you met other people, a part of the community, then of course we were definitely, earlier in my profession, I finally started meeting other people from the LGBTQI community. It made it so much better. I felt like I had an ally. And then when that person leaves, you're just like, great, now I'm back to square one, and you're trying, and literally, we were trying to seek each other out, whether it be in different departments, in anywhere that we could before, DEI and all these different groups started happening within corporations. We would try and seek each other out, and it was almost kind of like, an underground club
Oh,
because
for sure.
that's
Yeah.
how it had to be. But as far as being Black as well, made it harder. It really did. Just alone there, just being Black female alone in corporate America was harder. I had to be, twice as better. I had to be smarter, and I had to prove myself twice as hard. And it's sad that we have to do that. And the bad news is I'm seeing it come back today with everything that's going on in our country, and we're going backwards. And now I feel like I'm back in that time frame where I've got to work twice as hard just to show I belong, and it shouldn't be that way.
No, it definitely shouldn't. You beat me to the punch where I could say, was that, because of everything happening today. And
Mhm.
yeah, what we're living through right now is just, it's very frustrating. I hate that it actually, yes, we're of course experiencing it here in the US because of obviously who is leading the country right now.
Mhm.
But I had the fortunate opportunity to talk to someone the other day who's over in the UK, and they said because of what is happening here, it is now really starting to filter over there, and that hatred, that attack on our community is starting to become a lot stronger.
Mhm.
Where I don't know, for me, from my experience of just reading up and just seeing how our community is, I wouldn't say praised, but I felt like it seems like almost easier to be a part of our community in Europe than it was here, just because, and I think that, Europe could obviously fit inside the United States. Like the United States is so big land wise, whatever. And I would say the uniqueness and the differences of Europe is a good way to represent even, is almost how the United States is represented. I mean, like you said, like Europe, we both grew up in the Midwest. I was in Kansas City, you were in Indiana,
Mhm.
but you have the South, you have the West, you have the North, the North. There's so many different types of opinions,
Mhm.
and just really depending on where you lived, where you grew up, and even some of the attacks, and especially the racism against our community, especially unfortunately, like yourself, like as a Black, woman, it's really unfortunate because I feel like we had such strong leaders that tried to show this shouldn't be happening, like MLK. Like, we had it. It just shouldn't be happening. We're all unique. We were born to be unique and to be different.
Right.
That's the whole point of, like, if everyone is the same, we might as well just be AI robots. Like, there was just like, what's the point of, and I throw in the AI because AI is not going anywhere, folks. And AI has been around for a while. So
Mhm.
longer than what people want to admit. But it
Mhm.
actually, but it's so. Do you find that there are any specific ways that racism and queerphobia have shown up together in the workplace?
Definitely. I've gone through situations where, you know, certain coworkers don't interact only if they have to.
Wow.
I've been there, done that. Even if, we have to, collaborate on a certain project, it's very minimal. Especially to whether when there's we're all getting together for a corporate outing, or a team building exercise. I've been kept out of certain things. Been told, "Hey, actually, why don't you leave that at home or leave your private life at home?" From a racism standpoint, I mean, I think I've experienced quite a bit. I've lost jobs because of it. I lost out on promotions because of it. And then adding in being a lesbian as well, I have lost out on being on projects. So a lot of different things. I mean, and then when I've gotten into other corporations, things started to change in the early 2000s, late 2000s, my, career definitely progressed. 80s and or 90s when I began working as a teenager up and through, until I'd say probably 2005. Yeah. The racism piece was higher because
Mhm.
again, we kept our sexuality, our partners, us, we kept that to ourselves. At least I did.
Yeah.
Because again, you could lose your job over it. You could be shunned out of things, disowned practically to where it's like, "Oh, yeah, you're still an employee, but we're not really seeing you anymore." You're there, but you're not getting that recognition you used to get anymore. You're not, being put out there like you used to be anymore. And, smaller corporations got away with a lot. Larger corporations, a little bit different story.
Yeah.
And that's when I chose to go and get on with a larger corporation. And that's when I saw change, a little bit of change. And because there are more rules in place, which helped definitely. You've got your larger HR department that, now, okay, you can't exactly do whatever you want,
Yeah.
and they're actually paying attention to everything. So, and again, I know a lot of people live by the rules of, hey, this is when I'm at work, I'm at work. My personal life is outside those doors. And I understand that. And I still abide by that today. I'm not walking into my job, throwing everything out there of my personal life. I don't think any of us
Yeah.
are.
No, I think
But
we are definitely, we keep some things private because,
yes,
like you said, at the end of the day, work is work and home life is our home life. And
yes,
we do have to have that separation because
yes, we do.
if we happen to have a rough day at work,
Mm-hmm.
and at least you can go home, and obviously if you have a partner or wife, husband, whatever it might be,
Hmm.
um at least you might, hopefully, you have that space to maybe be able to vent, to get rid of that
Yes,
frustration that you just dealt with, and
yes.
which I think is very important. And I feel that even more so, and obviously especially anyway, I feel it's much more prevalent in our community, but especially because every one of us, we're considered a marginalized community to begin with. But then you start breaking down all the different letters, as one of my friends calls it, of the alphabet soup, which we pretty much are. I mean, it is.
Yes.
But when you start breaking down, it gets even more marginalized. Because,
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm not gonna lie, if I can't say that, even though I am a white male, but as a gay white male, yes, I felt okay. But
Mm-hmm.
even when I started seeing, like you mentioned earlier, when you started seeing, oh, people that were, another lesbian or another gay, another person, you're like, oh, cool, great. I still was always hesitant. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, how much more do I really want to share?
Right.
Because I still remember, though, and I felt, I don't know, something was up my butt. I remember putting the first time, like, one of my, like, boyfriends, I was like, boom, there it's on the wall of my cubicle. It's like, here he is. This is who I'm dating. This is how I am. This is how it's going to
Right.
be.
Right.
And I think I actually still kept it up that entire time I was with that company. But I also had an amazing boss. We had a very strong LGBTQ plus representation on our team. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we kind of joked at one point that we actually had more people on our team that liked men than liked women, because we had more gay men, and we had
Mm-hmm.
gay men and we had women. And then we had, I mean, so, like, all the straight men, obviously they were, married. Most of them are, I think actually all of them were married. And then we had all of the gay men who all had partners. So it was just like, and honestly, our boss saw, and I saw this specifically, we were the hardest workers on the team. We were the ones getting the stuff done. We're the
Mm-hmm.
ones who took the extra time and the effort to work those extra hours to get that work done. And I personally feel that when we lost that support, when that boss left our department and left our team, I didn't feel comfortable anymore. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
felt like I had lost something because we didn't have that person having our back like
Right.
we used
Yeah.
to. And
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
I think that can go with anybody in
Mm-hmm.
general, but I felt that, especially being a part of our community, it felt even more prevalent.
And it does, yeah, because you feel like, oh my goodness, we've lost that security,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh. What
Yeah.
what do we do? What's happening now? And again, to your point too about, meeting other people, within your company. And I agree with that too. Still a little hesitant because you don't know how out they are. And, getting to know them too. Maybe it's kind of like, hey, no one knows, nothing, nada. We're not gonna, speak about this ever because it's different for everyone.
Yeah.
Me, and then, coming out, I was very young. Well, I was 18 years old and, becoming that adult, just graduated high school, figuring out who I am, but still playing the game a little bit. Because
Yeah.
again, this is 1997 and, it wasn't exactly a cool hip thing yet like it
No.
is today. So, I had a very small circle of friends that I trusted and, you just have to you got to you have to watch your own back and
Oh, for
protect
sure. Yeah.
yourself. Really
Hmm.
protect yourself. I mean, even another area of where it would happen would be, applying for an apartment. Even though they're not supposed to show bias on that, but when they find out you're moving in two men together, two women together, really? Okay. And then people, they'll make their assumptions, especially if you're
Yeah.
renting from someone personally versus a property management company where that's
Right.
not going to happen as
Hmm.
much. But personally,
Yeah.
I've not gone through that myself, but I've had friends that have. And so I mean, it's just all over where people they're saying it to you, but they're not saying it,
Right.
basically.
Yeah.
And just because of who you are.
It's very true. And now looking back, I was like, wow, how many times were my friends and I, when we were roommates, did people think?
Hmm.
Like, huh, wow,
Yeah.
all right. I don't think at the time I even cared, but yeah, I think even still to this day, like you mentioned, like there's gonna still be some masking a little bit, just
Hmm.
because until we follow, like until we really know a coworker, until we really get to maybe if we've gone out to lunch with them or we have lunch in the break or whatever it might be,
Hmm.
or you can't even say if you're going to something company related because unless they maybe brought their partner or brought someone, then you might feel a little bit more comfortable. But I remember I had a boss who, and she was just curious. That's all it really was. She was a white, straight female, and she had worked with very few people in our like LGBTQ plus community. And so she was very curious. But she wanted to be my friend on Facebook. She wanted to learn like everything that
Hmm.
was going on. And it's like, but you're my boss.
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly.
no,
Right.
no, no, no. And then when I kept saying no, then she would be nagging me at work. And I'm like,
Hmm.
do you want me to go to HR? You're literally trying to dive into my personal life, and it's actually
Hmm.
none of your business.
Exactly, and that right there alone, and even to this day, there are quite a few people that I'm not friends with, like on Facebook or Instagram, and as far as coworkers, and that's nothing personal. It's just we're coworkers or acquaintances. However, we're not besties.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We're nowhere near that, and, that level of trust is just not there, and then who's to say, you're gonna go on there and see what I've done or doing this or saw my pictures from when I was at Pride or something, and then utilize that against me later down the road,
It's
some
fun.
way, shape, or form, and, yeah, so no, I'm very limited on that still to this day, especially on social media. LinkedIn, a little different because that's all professional.
Right.
But and then still I'm not connected with, everyone on the team that I'm currently on. It's just something I feel that's kind of my line. That's my boundary.
I mean, even with the last company I worked with before I started coaching, I'm not even connected with the VP of my old department, even my boss. Some of my coworkers, yes, because we had a great bond.
Mhm.
But there's others that I was like, no,
Yeah.
I
Nope.
don't have a desire to be
Me either.
connected with you. It's like, no. Now, because of what I'm doing with this podcast and everything, they're seeing everything and anything. When I was with the company, I feel very fortunate. I was very strongly involved in the LGBTQ plus like ERG that we had. And
Mhm.
so that's a little bit different. So anybody that sees anything that I might post, pride related or just LGBTQ plus, especially from that company, is gonna be like, and especially if they knew me, they're like, oh, okay, yeah, that's just Sean.
Right.
That's what, because one of my coworkers at the time, they made a really good point. they said, this is the first time I've ever worked for an employer where I felt that I could truly be myself and not ashamed to say when I was going to be transitioning. And I was like, yeah, you should feel very lucky.
Yes, you should.
Because I feel, and I just had a conversation with someone about this earlier, the younger generations, I love that they are so proud of who they are in their, know, LGBTQ plus status. And that's amazing because let's be real, we paved the way for them to be able to have that.
Mhm.
And it's interesting that even to this day, I still don't want to be that open like they are, just even to that point.
Right.
But it's just a little, it's a little, I'm jealous that they can be like that, but I'm also, it's very fascinating that they can be
Mhm.
like that.
Comes from being a Gen Xer. It just comes from growing up during that time frame where we had to watch. We had to, I mean, even going out to a club, a gay club, going to, gay-owned shops, anything, any type of events, we had to watch on that and make sure. Thank goodness we didn't have social media yet.
My gosh.
I mean,
My
we were
goodness. Yes.
barely just getting used to the internet. So, that technology, which I am truly thankful for, I grew up during that time frame, not having that technology yet. I mean, we were just coming into pagers and analog cell phones, So that, and I am thankful for that because today it's completely different. Now, as far as I do the same thing, I'm a part of different ERGs, Pride, the African American ones, and definitely, part of that. Out and proud today, I mean, definitely yes. I live kind of by a famous line that was said in a great series that came out in the early 2000s. And, when it comes to different things, especially in the workplace, and there's like, oh, you're a part of this. Are you gay? You don't mind me asking that? And it's amazing how they say, oh, do you mind me asking after they've asked me that? And I said, yes, I am. But, if unless I'm with you, it is none of your business. Plain and simple. Um, the line that I, got that as far as I got that from, his words were a little different, but to keep it PG here. And I've lived by that. It's like
Yeah.
unless I'm with you, that is none of your business. Just like your husband or boyfriend or whatever you do or who you're with, it's none of mine. And I just do not understand why uh, that is just something that society just had to put out there. But yet I'm like, well, what goes on in your home, none of my business. I don't really care.
Yeah. It's
I, why do we need to know what goes on in my home?
exactly. That's why it's funny to me where I got pushback recently, and I know you follow me on Instagram. Thank you, by
Mhm.
the way.
Mhm.
And I saw someone that I think I was talking about masking and
Huh?
like trying that you should be to be able to be your authentic self at work. And
Exactly.
someone piped up and said, oh, well, what, you're going to talk about sex and everything? I was like, no, 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 no. Let me just be who I am and share if I want to about my partner, what I might have done over the weekend, whatever it might be, because I have to listen to yours. Why do I have to listen to you share all this stuff? Because trust me, I don't want to hear that all the time either.
Mhm.
I don't
I
need to
know.
hear, I mean, I will admit, and I've heard this. I mean, obviously men maybe are not the most appropriate just in general when they share stories, especially straight men, in locker rooms and whatnot and everything. But I've also
Mhm.
heard women aren't that much nicer. Having a sister,
Uh,
I've heard, but it's just like I didn't want to hear all those conversations. Did
mhm.
I say really anything? Most of the time, no, because like I just turned it off. It's like, yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
I'm good. I don't need it. I don't care. Because at the end of the day, if it's not affecting me, why do it doesn't matter.
I
But
know.
I agree that there's definitely some things, and I brought this up many times throughout many episodes, is that I want people, and I'm sure you want, like, we want people to be their authentic self in the workplace.
Yeah.
Because as I was just talking to a VP of a company, when we get to be ourselves and we're comfortable in our own skin, we're a much more productive employee.
Exactly. Exactly.
So when if you're going to attack someone for not being able to be their self, you could have had someone that could be soon to be a manager, a director,
Mhm.
VP, like you're shooting someone down that could be very beneficial to your organization. And
Exactly.
I just don't, it's why, it's why I'm doing this podcast, because I want
Exactly.
people to get out there and say, hey, you can be like this. You should be like this. Now,
Exactly.
as you know, and I know, there are definitely certain industries and certain companies you really probably are going to have to put up some type of wall a little bit
Yes.
because of just how it is.
I know.
Please, listeners, literally, please be your authentic self in the home and with your friends, because you're
Definitely.
going to hurt yourself mentally. Your mental health is going to get really messed up if you can't be yourself.
Yes. I agree with that 100%, and definitely, to the managers out there, people that have direct reports, you will be amazed. You let them be themselves, like you said, they're gonna perform. First of all, they're gonna respect you because you're
Mhm.
respecting them, and then they're gonna perform, and they're gonna work hard for you. And then when they see the opportunities for growth, they're gonna work even harder.
Yeah.
But when you're putting that fear there, they're gonna question every little thing they do, every decision they make, and you're not gonna get the full potential out of that person.
Yeah.
So respect them. I mean, for who they are, for their beliefs, whatever it may be. Just respect them as they respect you. That's all you need to do.
Yeah.
Whatever your opinions are, this and that, and whatever theirs are, that's fine. We're at work. We shouldn't even be speaking about other things like that around
Exactly.
religions or,
Yeah.
or politics. No, you're looking at that's a person. It's another person. You're a person. Respect each other. Just because in their home, it's their wife or their husband, depending on male or
Yeah.
female, versus female going home to your husband. That's okay. That's your life. This is their life. Just respect one another. I mean, that's just the first step we've got to figure out, which I still can't believe some have, but
Yeah.
majority have not. And I mean, we just can't even get there. And in the workplace, like I said, especially now with all the changes that are happening, it's like we're just going backwards, going back in time. And, a lot of my friends, African American friends, even straight are, seeing this time frame come back and of course, in our community, really worried. And it's just, and then, I'm sure we're going to be diving into mental health
Mhm.
now. That, especially for Gen Xers, is really becoming a big part of society where I'm glad we're paying more attention to it. However, we're really late on doing it.
Yeah, we are.
We are late to the party on this. I mean, if we go back in time looking at, things that have happened in the 70s, the amount of gay people that have committed suicide, trans that have committed suicide because of bullying, and now it's just gotten worse because of social media.
Yeah.
And it's just we are late to the party on this because growing up then for me, seeking therapy was a weakness.
Mhm.
It was just something it's like, "No, you go to church." And that
Yeah.
was one of especially in the Black community, you go to church, have a conversation with Jesus, there you go. And no, that didn't fix all of it.
No,
It
definitely
really
not.
it
No.
did not do it. And today, I love the options we have where obviously we can do things virtually. I mean, you're at a different state from me. We're having this conversation, which is great. You can do that with therapy. You've got, so many different things available now and resources. And again, we are late to the party because there's so much life we could have saved if we just didn't look at mental illness as a bother and as a weakness.
So true. We're going to get into that in a second
Mhm,
about mental health. But you make such a good point. Oh my goodness. Growing up when we did,
mhm.
it's really interesting. First off, I have to take a step back a little bit. I'm so
Okay.
glad we didn't have social media. Oh my goodness gracious.
I
Like
know,
there's so many things that I did. I'm like, "Oh, good thing that wasn't captured."
I know.
But and also one of the things that I think was so great about not having it, we got to have a conversation.
Exactly. Oh
We
my
had
goodness.
conversations. We didn't have people glued to their phones.
Yes.
And it's unfortunate because the younger generations are glued to their phones.
Mhm.
And it's just like, get off the phone. This is
Yes.
why, and I think we're going to obviously touch on the mental health aspect, but I think that's where there's a lot of mental health issues, is because
Yeah.
you're just worried about what someone's saying is on a social media platform.
Mhm.
And I think from us coming from a Gen X standpoint, it's like, who cares?
I know.
Who cares? At
I
the end of the
know.
day, are they really affecting your life? Is it
Right.
really making a big difference? And I think one thing I've learned, which really, I mean, the suicide rates have been awful, and they're especially very prevalent in our community, but even more so, you touched on the trans community.
Mhm.
It's very sad and unfortunate.
Yeah.
But I also, one thing I learned as I've gotten older, yeah, school sucks. And let's just be real, it sucks.
Yes.
Kids are mean. They
They
are
are.
mean, they are mean, they are mean.
They are.
But life gets better
It does.
when
It
you get
does.
to step out and be really more comfortable in your skin, especially when you hit college.
Mhm.
Whew,
Yes.
you're away from that environment. Guess what? You don't ever have to talk to those high school people ever again if you don't want to.
Exactly.
I had over 400 and something people in my class. Guess what? I talked not even a fourth of those people. Because you know what? At
Same
the end of the
here.
day, I don't care. They didn't make a dent in my life.
Mhm.
I talk to the people that I want to talk to.
Exactly.
And the fact that I'm still talking to them 30 years after being in high school, first of all, I think that's a really good thing.
Huh?
That I thought, but they also made an impact on me clearly when we were younger, and that's why we're still connected.
Right.
But so to go on a completely different path. So, as someone who's worked across sales, account
Mhm.
management, and training,
Mhm.
what advice would you give LGBTQ plus folks navigating corporate environments that still aren't quite safe?
I would definitely say know your own boundaries. That's one thing I did definitely. There were certain people that, I would tell certain things to, and then there's quite a few that I would not. But know that limitation. Definitely, give enough information to where you're conversational, whether it be at work or it be at a corporate outing, team building, whatever it may be. And even or if you bump into one another at the mall, or if those are still there.
Well, yeah.
Outdoor mall, we got a lot of those, so we'll just roll with
Yeah.
that. Um, we still got some malls here in Chicago, so that's a good thing, but you know your limitations, and then when you're working your job and you've got, some goals set on what you wanna do, network. That is one thing today that, I'm not this younger generation, just to give an example, I was in a store yesterday and the gentleman that I was training could barely even look at me in the eye. He was barely even looking at my face, so we got to make on eye contact, people,
Yeah.
especially when you've got someone there training you and
Especially
your
training you.
your
Yeah.
boss is kind of
Especially.
keeping an eye on things and you can
Yeah.
barely even look at me in the eye. No, it's like, do I need to train via text? I mean, that's how I felt. And it's
Wow.
just like, okay, no, the people skills, the social skills, it's just amazing the difference today because
Mhm.
of technology.
For sure.
And they just, he would glance at me periodically, but 75% of that conversation couldn't even look at me and look at me in the eye. And, definitely I would say if you've got someone in your life that's in their mid to late 40s, early 50s, wor- definitely chat with them. Be
Don't be
like,
afraid. Ask us
yes,
questions. Yeah.
this is my goal. I want to be a corporate trainer, or I want to be an account manager. I want to be a sales manager, whatever it may be. If that's, your passion and where you want to go, or even if it's, I want to be a teacher,
Mm.
that's great. We've got to work on these social skills.
I was
You
like, if
have
you
to
want to
be
be a
able to
teacher, you
talk
better
to
learn how to
people.
learn. You got to be able to learn and to look at your students.
Exactly. You need to be able to speak with people and, but definitely network and learn. Take a class. Goodness gracious, I still remember to this day, when I took a class in the fundamentals of speech and,
Mm.
being able to, stand up in front of a room of 500 people and go through a PowerPoint presentation and deliver a speech. We just skills aren't there today. And I see it everywhere I go, whether I'm in a
Yeah.
retail store or, I'm at a company, it's lacking. And then when they're not speaking to someone, that phone is right in their hand. And, for me, there are plenty of times where I'm just like, we could turn that bad boy off. I don't even have to touch it for the whole weekend. I'd be more than happy to turn my phone off
Oh, for
because
sure. Yeah.
I don't need it that way.
Yeah.
And then also too, I'm not saying you have to have a thick skin to make it, but you've got to have a little bit of a backbone. You really
Mhm.
do. Stop taking things so personally. I mean,
Yeah.
some of these things have nothing to do with you. Just
Yeah.
don't take them personally. And that's one of the biggest thing in sales, why so many younger people don't like it, because they do not like to hear the word no, and they take it completely personally. No, they're not saying no to you. They're just saying no to the service or product you're trying to offer them. Has nothing to
Exactly.
do with you.
Yeah, it's not a personal attack on you. No, not
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah. So I mean, it's definitely, learn the fundamentals definitely of social skills, because it's really sad right now. It really is. Um, and definitely different clients that I've dealt with in the past. And when I look at today's generation, um, and yeah, I mean, use your family and friends as a resource, have a bit of a backbone, and, it's just be involved and put the phone down, put the iPad down, but whatever tablet, put it down
Yeah.
and be in the moment with someone and having that conversation. That's why I love to see those restaurants out there that will give you a discount off of your meal if you put your phone locked away in one of their like little cabinets or things. I've seen them throughout in different cities I've traveled in.
Are
So
you
yeah,
serious?
there are restaurants out there where
I love
they'll
that.
knock 10 or 20% off your bill for putting your phone up and actually going out to dinner and having a conversation there. I've
Wow.
been to cafes, I've been to, little mom and pop places where they're like, "We don't offer Wi-Fi. You gotta have a conversation here." And I love that.
I do too.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's just, actually, instead of texting that person, give them a call. Instead of sending, that
A
quick message.
call. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
I know.
No
Do we know
way.
how to do that?
Well, we do.
Yes. But, I mean, it amazes me too, when we talk about technology, and back in the day, this generation missed out on awesome 8 tracks, cassettes, CD players,
I
just
mean, let's think
awesome
about
things.
the Walkman,
Yeah.
the Discman. We had all these technologies that we thought it was the coolest thing at the time.
Yes.
And then to see where we are now, it's just like, wow.
I know.
But I mean, you download everything. Unfortunately, I think at a point we're going to get to where there's no record stores anymore. There's no
Yeah.
place because we're going to be able to just get it all digitally and it's
Yes.
like and stream it. And I mean, I'll admit I'm a little obsessed with some like little, I mean, not purposely plugging Apple Music, but I listen to a lot of my music on Apple Music or Spotify or, whatever.
Mhm.
And it's just because that's where I can find the music that I want to listen to.
Oh, yeah, and I'm a big fan of it. I mean, I have a huge music library. However, I also have a big vinyl collection. And if
Nice.
you really want to hear music and
Yeah.
actually literally, because I love all types of music, but just get that great sound where you can hear the instruments,
Hmm.
behind the singer. I mean, they missed out on vinyl. Even though it's making a comeback,
Yeah.
you'll see a lot of it, that you can buy in stores now, and which is great. I'm ecstatic about it because it sounds that's where music sounds the best to me. There's a huge difference from listening to it on vinyl and even a CD versus
Oh,
it
yeah.
being download.
Yeah, I have a good friend of mine who, his vinyl collection's a little ridiculous, but I love it. I love
Uh-huh.
that he's always been passionate about music, but it's
Mhm.
really cool that he will go and make a point to get the vinyl
Mhm.
of that album. And first off, I love that they're still creating vinyl
Me too.
because
Me too.
even on a brand new album that some artists may come out with, that you can go and get a vinyl of it because, like you said, when you can hear those instruments and you can hear
Mhm.
that music is just beautiful. It's a whole
Mhm.
different sound than
Mhm.
I mean, it's also why I love going and seeing live music
Right.
because you get to hear that true intent of how it was made.
Mhm.
And so you get to
Definitely.
hear the guitars, the drums, whatever it might be, the piano, whatever it might be, and you're just like, wow, that's so
Mhm.
cool.
Yeah.
But I would agree with you. The lack of social media is amazing. The Unfortunately for these younger generations, the lack of networking the lack of wanting to look at anybody. It's really funny because I feel I can hear my mom in my head saying, it's disrespectful if you don't look someone in the eyes.
Exactly. Me
And I
too.
even remember years ago, it was probably 3, 4 years ago, I was going in on an interview for a company that I worked with very briefly. But my friend said she had been an executive for a company, and she said at one point, and she wasn't anymore, but she told me, because I was going to be interviewing with the CEO of this company, and she said, no matter what, don't take your eyes off of him.
Mm.
He is the CEO. Number one, he deserves that respect. Number two, if he happens to look away, he's the CEO of the company. He
Mm-hmm.
has a lot of things in his head going on, and he is a very, very busy person.
Mm-hmm.
And it was funny because during that interview, yep, he looked away. He looked over at his desk. We were sitting at a little table in his office, and I laughed after the fact. I was like, yep, he did exactly what you said he was going to do. He looked away, but I never took my eyes off him because I had the respect of what he
Mm-hmm.
did. And I do unfortunately think that these younger generations, especially the younger generation, the reason they're not probably so engaging as we were. First off, I think we were taught it's
We
out
were.
of respect. You look at
We
someone,
were.
you don't ever
Yes.
like not look at someone.
Oh yeah.
Even if you don't agree with them, you still keep looking at them.
Exactly.
And you listen, you pay attention. And for our sake, we didn't have social media. So what else were we gonna do?
Exactly.
We didn't have anything else that was gonna be going on. We had to look at them. But I think that the pandemic definitely hurt this
It
younger
did.
generation,
It did.
because they had to be thrown into, now you're going into a class on screen before you were
Mm.
in person. But it is amazing. We'll jab at my friends sometimes if we're chatting and all of a sudden someone goes onto their phone. It's like, are you kidding me? Like, we're in this group together, we're chatting, stop it.
Right.
And
Right.
honestly, hey, Denver, a little plug out there. You need to come out with restaurants or places that we can put our phones down, because I
Yes.
love that. I
Yes.
love that because that is how it should be. You've spent the money and the
Yes.
time and the effort to come out and spend time with your friends or family, whoever it might be.
Mhm.
I can honestly think the only time now that there is no phone present, honestly, is during the holidays. When I'm sitting down
Yeah.
with like holidays with like, my family and whatever, there's no phones at the table. They're not even allowed at the table.
Right.
You sit
Right.
there and you enjoy and you have the conversation.
Right. And definitely, when you go out next to eat, just look around and you'll see, I mean, straight, gay, older, younger. Are we having a conversation? Phones in the hand, we're doing this, and you've got either someone else on the other end that's kind of looking around, or they're both on their phones. And it's just so sad.
It really
you
is. It
know?
really, really, well, and you
It
see it
it
even,
is.
like, I don't really go to the bars that much anymore, but I've heard like you can go into the bars, it's the same thing. People are
Yeah.
chatting on their phones. They might be even chatting with the person right next to them. It's like, why
Right.
can you not talk to them? You
And
can
but
literally, oh, it doesn't make sense.
well, you brought up a great point of COVID. COVID even affected me,
Yeah.
being interactive with people every day, going to this format for over a year. It was very hard. So I do feel for the younger generations and even, my generation, even boomers, too,
Yeah.
trying to adjust to the new way for a little bit and learning the new technology. And it was very hard mentally because when you're around people all the time and then you take that away, you're just like, what just happened? And I know for a lot of people, it got very lonely,
Mhm.
and that's when you notice, of course, where social media did help because they could have that interaction. But I will tell you
Right.
too, more phone calls happened definitely
Yeah.
during that time frame, or things via Zoom, or Microsoft Teams, whatever, or Google Meets,
Whatever it
whatever
is. Yeah.
platform you're using. And because that's how our family had chats. We were just like
Yeah.
hop on a Zoom, we hopped on once a week for a while there, and then it got to a couple weeks, 3 weeks, and then as things started to change where we could kind of start interacting again, but for that first part of 2020, kind of mid-year going into the end of it was very hard.
Yeah.
Very hard.
It very much so. I remember, yeah, our group of friends, even though we were all here in Colorado,
Mhm.
we had to jump on. We did it through what was it, Facebook? We did our little
Mhm.
Facebook like messenger like video thing.
Yep.
We would do that. I remember reaching out, even a choir that I was in when we first hit the pandemic, we were doing Zooms.
Yeah.
Like every
Yeah.
couple of weeks we'd come together because we had been in the middle of our season. And then all of a sudden, you can't do anything anymore. You can't meet up. And it's like, well, this
Yeah.
sucks. But for me,
Yeah.
unfortunately, I still had the human interaction because I worked for an essential company. So
I see.
I was still seeing people face to face, but the only difference was I was wearing a mask and they were wearing
Right.
masks. But
Right.
yeah, but I get the people that had to all of a sudden go virtual. And I mean, I still remember in our building that we lived in, we had good friends who are next door neighbors. We literally did not interact with them
Right.
because of honestly, the scare of COVID.
Right.
And
Right.
I remember, and I don't know if they did it in Chicago. I know here we'd have the 8 o'clock. It was like the 8 o'clock. What they did, the howling or cheering or whatever. It was something like everybody would like
Mhm.
come out of their places, and that's the only time we saw them. We'd lean over the balcony and we're like, "Hey,
Right.
what's up?"
Yes.
Because
They
I
did that
mean,
in a lot of cities.
yeah, like we would see them in the hallway, and we were like, "Hey," but we'd see them from a distance. We're like, "That's great.
Right.
Hi, go down the
Right.
elevator. We'll see you later."
Right.
It's like we don't be in the elevator with you.
I know, I know. It was hard, definitely. I would definitely chat with friends often, and we would just check in on one another. Like, "How
Yeah.
you doing?" Because a lot of my friends have the same type of job, a little different industry, but still working with people every day.
Hmm.
And all of us literally, one day we just got told, "Gotta pull you out of the field. Can't go back into the field until we tell you." And that lasted for over a year. And it was just for me, it was such a hard adjustment in the beginning. So that's why it was very important that we had, those weekly, calls just to keep that interaction. And, at the time, my partner, she was still going out and working. So I'm at home all day by myself going, okay, now what?
Yeah.
And
That's how
that
it
went
kind of
on
was
for,
with my.
yeah, over a year. So,
Yeah, because my partner, I mean, he's been working for home forever, at least since the pandemic. Yeah, when I would come home, he'd be like, "Oh, hey, what happened today? What?" And it's
exactly.
like, calm
I
down. It
know.
wasn't very exciting. You know what I do. It's not that exciting."
I know.
Um,
I know.
but so getting into mental health.
Mhm.
So you're very passionate about mental health in our community. So what changes have you seen over the years, and what do you think still needs to happen?
So changes, definitely, I've seen more resources come about, which is great. I've seen a lot of different nonprofits arise. I've seen a lot of different charities, to really help, especially for people that may not have medical benefits where, they don't have access to these resources because it's going to cost them so much out of pocket due to not having
Mhm.
benefits. So that has definitely helped. And, during the time of, politically speaking, when things were a little different, where we had a lot more resources that are starting to go away,
Yeah.
different hotlines, different things for this. And then the technology helps. Being able to speak to a therapist virtually like this, or being able, just to have a conversation with, say, for example, a life coach, and,
Mhm.
sit there and be able to have someone listen, whether you're on the phone or we're on a call like this, has been great. However, still the way society, again, we're late to the party on this, where we're now actually caring about it. That's where we messed up big
Mhm.
time. And I mean, I know we can't go back and change the past, but we can definitely change and prepare and change for the future. Mental health, having a mental illness is not a bad thing as people, have portrayed it to be. It
Right.
is something that can be helped. And, I've seen it in a lot of friends and family where, it's kind of hush hush. We don't talk about it. If we've got someone that has anxiety, ADHD, bipolar, all types of different things. And what we need to work on is acceptance, just like with even in the gay community, still acceptance
Yeah.
after all these years. And to say it's okay and we're going to help you. We're going to find help, whether that's, therapy every week, whether it's if it needs to be medication, it's okay. Because so many people were afraid society would just label them as a crazy person. No. And then kind of shun them to the side. Like, oh my goodness. No, we're not going to deal with that. And that was our problem. We didn't want to deal with it. We didn't want to
Yeah.
deal with it at all. You know,
It's because we
you
didn't
were
deal with it.
exactly. We didn't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
And
And I only
it's
laugh because I know it's true. It's just,
same
yeah,
here.
we just didn't deal with it. Yeah.
No, we just didn't deal with it. We saw it as, oh, no, put that to the side. We're not going to talk about that. It's almost like going in the closet. Nope, we're not gonna deal with that at all. We're not gonna tell anybody about that. Same thing. That's literally with the gay community. It's like, nope, we're not gonna talk about that. Don't bring that up ever. And that's where today, and we're getting better at it, definitely. But it's never gonna go away. It's here. It happens, definitely. I'm seeing a lot of my own friends, that I grew up with that are today going there have developed anxiety. COVID, I know, bring a part of that, but because the way we were brought up to be that strong-willed and to just be able to accept that problem, deal with it, move on, but not talk about it and
Yeah.
actually let those feelings come out, whether, you're upset, you're angry, you're depressed, you're crying, whatever it may be. But it was more of, nope, suck it up and deal with it for Gen Xers
Hmm.
versus let's talk about it so you
Yeah.
can deal with it emotionally and then, be able to move on. And that's where, today we're getting better. We just gotta keep getting better. We just gotta keep going because I have seen way too many young people, that are under the age of 21 that have been under so much stress and have developed anxiety at such an early age, mid-teens. And it's like, you shouldn't be dealing with that at 12, 13, 14 years old. You should be being a teenager, getting ready to go into high school and enjoying your life. And because of different things in society and the pressures that are out there,
Hmm.
these poor young kids, they're just, all of this is happening so fast for them. And just the pressure alone, when I compare it to when I grew up, I'm just wow by that as far as the pressure to be the best in everything, get
Hmm.
into the top schools. And, I really feel for today's generation on that. But we've just got to keep doing and making it better. And again, acceptance. It's okay. Mental illness is not going to go away. It's
No.
not.
It's been
We
around for
just
a very long time, and
yes.
it's not going anywhere.
No, we need to pay attention when our child or our brother, sister, friend, whatever says to you, I don't think I'm okay, and take it
Yeah.
seriously.
So true. Yeah, it's interesting because it kind of just like what I said, touched on earlier. Is like when there are things that you can change, great, make those changes. But if something doesn't really affect you and it's not going to affect you, why are you dwelling on it? Why are you
Mhm,
holding on to it?
mhm.
I think that's what like we've seen with this younger generation. They hold on to things really strongly, and it's like,
They do.
wow,
They do.
wow, wow, wow. Like I'm seeing it in my 18-month-old niece. She has that fear of missing out. She doesn't want to take a nap. She
Oh,
always wants to be
wow.
awake. And it's like, oh honey, you have a whole life ahead of you. It's like, why are
Yes.
you worrying about what's going on? Trust me, you're fine. You're fine.
Right.
Take the
Right.
nap. Because trust me, you're not getting the nap when you get older. So you might as well take advantage of
Exactly.
the naps now.
You are lucky if you can squeeze in a power nap now, so
I mean, the only naps that I got was when I had COVID. And I mean, those were some amazing naps.
I know,
But
right?
it's just, I was like, oh, this takes me back. But yeah, no, like it's just a very interesting, to me, it's also, it's frustrating to
Mhm.
see these younger generation worrying about so much.
I
But I
know.
think that, and I I do and I don't want to talk about, but it is a big deal. School shootings, the reason a lot of it happened is because of the mental health of those students and
Yeah.
has happened or not happened, that their parental figures, whoever that might be, whoever
Mhm.
they have in their home or no, don't have, unfortunately that's why it's happening. And it kind of, we touched on a little bit earlier, the bullying, like
Yeah.
they take too many things to heart. I think that what's interesting, when we were younger, there were no school shootings. We worried about and if we ever got out of class in my school, it was because someone didn't want to take a test. So
Mhm.
what did they do? They set off the fire alarm or they did something just completely stupid. And that's how we got out of class. It wasn't someone threatening someone's life and killing people. because someone ticked them off or someone was constantly bugging them. Now, after watching, I remember watching years ago this documentary about bullying. And I think one of the things that we also didn't do very good as Gen Xers, because my mom kept saying, and I had someone that was constantly bullying me a lot. My mom's like, just stand up to them.
Mm-hmm.
Because once you stand up to them and you show that strength,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to leave you alone because they've realized, oh, we got to go and find someone else now to bully.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, obviously, easier said than done. I
Yes.
get it. I'm not thinking, as someone said the other day, it's not all rainbows and butterflies. Trust me, there is
Mm-hmm.
things that we can't control, and some obviously bullies are not going to give up. Current
Mm-hmm.
president, but you got to learn how to handle it. You got to realize what's really affecting you, and what is just happens to you, something you might see on social media. Like, does it
Right.
really matter that Susie said something about you? Is it really going to affect your life? Is it
Mm-hmm.
really? I
Right.
mean, let's be real. Is it really going to affect your life? Now, I think that's also coming from my Gen X standpoint and our Gen,
Yes.
because I think that we just didn't let some things really get to us. I
We
think
and
that's
we
because
didn't.
of we didn't have anything to bother us.
Right.
I mean, that's not true. We did have some things to bother us, but we didn't let it stir. We were like,
Right.
okay, next.
Right.
We
Right.
just went on with it. So
Yeah.
we
You
just went on
know,
with life.
it wasn't to a point where it was put out there on the internet. They could maybe
Yes.
post a piece of paper or something that you could rip down and rip up and throw away.
Yeah.
But not today where, it goes out on all these different platforms for people to see. And, that's what makes it different versus we're in school we're not talking all these different people to see. We're talking people that went to that school and walked down that hallway or, went by this area. So it's completely, completely different. But yes, the take worry today that they have is, I really feel for them on that because if they just could have been taught how we were, I think it'd be a totally different generation, definitely. But I do feel for them because of that constant worry. And that's social media, that constant worry of wanting to be the best and have the best. When you get older, doesn't matter. Material things will not matter to you, in your 40s like they do, when you're younger in your teens and, 20s. Then it becomes your things change for you in your life where other things are more important. Your values change.
Oh,
And
completely.
family becomes important. Experiences become important, not what year car I drive, not how big my
Exactly.
house
Yeah.
is.
I think one of the things that every generation needs to realize, you don't have to have the FOMO, the fear of missing out, but you need to realize, and I used to always make fun of this little acronym, but YOLO, you only live once. You only live once to be able to enjoy time with your family, the time with your friends.
Mhm.
Was it really important to chat up a storm and talk trash about someone? Was it really worth it? Is it going to look good
Exactly.
for you in the future? Because trust me, it might come up in a school reunion at late years later, and
It
they
may.
they might it may come up, and especially now because everything is once it's out there on the internet, it's out there on the internet, and so
Exactly.
again, so glad that we didn't have all that stuff back then.
Me too.
So let's talk about legacy. So you now work in financial services and estate planning.
Mhm.
Why is it so important for LGBTQ plus folks, especially Black and Brown communities, to protect their families and their futures?
Well, number one, it's important because we weren't really taught this. We really weren't. If I knew back, when I was 18, 19, or well, take that back, I'd say probably mid-20s where I'm actually getting on with a bigger corporation and I've got that 401k. If I'd have known what I know today, financially things would look completely different. We weren't taught, we were given the basics of, hey, this is how you open a checking account. This is how you balance your checkbook. But we weren't given hey, this is important on why you should look at this life insurance, even though it's just you. Still, this is why, I know you're young. This is why you should have life insurance here. This is why you should start investing, in this and looking at that bigger picture. So Yeah, I'm all about educating today, and really, I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm trying to educate you, especially the younger generations. Climate-wise today, what we're looking at, we have no idea what the future holds. I mean, you never know. Social Security could go away in 15, 20 years, 10. We don't know.
We don't know.
And
Yeah.
a lot of people are thinking my 401k will suffice, which if you look at today, you're seeing a lot of people that are outliving their money.
Right.
So that's not working. They're thinking the insurance they have at work is just enough, which a lot of people don't know. When you leave that company, that insurance doesn't go with you unless you want to actually take it from that other company and pay a higher rate.
Mhm.
And, different investment products out there to help as far as, with whole life and indexed universal. There's all kinds of different things out there that our generation and these younger generations, they don't know about. And, when I was, 22, 23 years old, I set myself up a large term, A, because it was cheap, but a whole life policy because I had someone explain it to me. I'm like, well, wait, what are you talking about? And he's like, okay, 20 years from now, judging by this is what, you could have cash value wise. And I didn't even know it was a thing. I was like, wait, what are you talking about? Never learned any of this. So really for me, I'm very passionate about it because especially the Black community, the LGBTQ community, from a financial planning standpoint, because I've seen it in my own family where when someone passes, there's nothing there to help with funeral expenses. There's nothing there to help pay their remaining bills, pay off their house, nothing. And I mean, we've seen it in society. I mean, how many GoFundMe's have we seen? Tons of them.
Tons. Yeah.
And, even just to funeral costs are on the rise. Even just to have someone cremated, we're still talking a little bit of money.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And, it's just, we've got a lot of people that are not prepared. And then from an estate planning standpoint, especially for our community, we have a lot of people in our community that have been with someone for 10 or 15 plus years and they're not married. Yet, if something were to happen to one of them, there's nothing their partner can do unless they've put things together in a will, they've put things together in a trust where they're a trustee, they've done a power of attorney. If they've done none of that, everything falls to their partner's next of kin, which could either be parents or siblings. And, again, a lot of people, they don't know. And it's not necessarily their fault. It's not. This is just something I feel that, financial literacy is for everyone, not just the people that inherited a lot of money and have all these financial advisors, for the wealthy. No, this is for everyone. And,
Yeah.
I am definitely, I'm on a mission to help not only the Black community, but also our LGBTQ community because we need this knowledge and we need to know how to protect ourselves.
Yeah, and I think what you made a really good point. It's that lack of education.
Mhm.
We were never taught it. I mean, I feel fortunate that my partner is in the financial industry, so I've learned
Mhm.
definitely a lot over the last like 12 years that we've been together. But was I taught that really before? No.
No,
Most of the
no.
time when you were in companies, when they'd start talking to you about for whatever, it was like a foreign language was being spoken
Mhm.
to you because it's like, I'm sorry, what?
I know.
What are
I
you saying?
know.
And then unfortunately, it could be the case where you don't get a lot of help even from your family or friends
Mhm.
unless they really know what's going on. Or you've unfortunately seen people drain those potential funds. So then they really don't have anything come the
Right.
time of retirement. And I still remember this back in high school being in, I think I was in government, AP government. How I ever got in that class is still beyond me. But anyway, learning that Social Security, we will not see it by the time we retire, like our
Mhm.
generation, because of just the way things are going. And now, like you said, it could go away any day. We really don't know. And you have to you have to focus on other ways for that retirement, or it could be really scary to
Yes, it
what's
could.
going to happen. You really could be working till the day you die, or, in some,
Yeah.
you can't go and think that, oh, I'm going to win the lottery or this is going to happen,
Right.
because guess what? It's not.
No.
It's
It's
it's really not
it's
going to happen.
it's not. it's something that I know is a touchy subject. A lot of
Yeah.
people, they don't like to talk about money. They don't. Especially if you're talking to a friend or family member that is an advisor, and it's like, "Well, I don't want you knowing my business, hold on."
Yeah.
But, I mean, whether you're married or you have children or not, it's still a conversation you have to have, and there's still more to it, when you're working with an advisor. Also too, you're going through budgeting and helping to give you, different ways of saving. And then, finding out what your goals are. One day you want to put a down payment to own a home. You want to build a new home. You want to go on a 2-week vacation in Europe. It's finding out, what are those goals and dreams, what you want to do? Because there's a lot to it. Because then once you're actually going through and finding out and getting to know someone and finding out all that information and what's important to them, well, I want to leave, 200,000 to my family. Okay. All right. I want them well taken care of. Okay. And then in the next year, I'd like to go on vacation and do this. Okay. We're going to figure out a way so you can do all that. And we're going to find the best solutions for you to where, things are being taken care of. And then the big goal, a lot of people will tell me, I want to retire by this age. Okay. This is where, again, we got to have that uncomfortable conversation. Let's see where you are right now. Okay. So this is how you can actually start saving to do that. Here's your budget here. Here's what you're paying. Here's what's coming in, what's going out. We can do this. We can tweak this a little bit so you can take that vacation, so you can retire by this age. And then actually you're showing them how money works and teaching them better ways of spending it and saving it.
Yeah, for sure. And it's interesting. You brought it up briefly is about the cost of, let's put it bluntly, the cost of dying, the funeral or, burial or cremation. I worked in the funeral business. So I definitely,
Mhm.
and specifically cremation, it's still expensive, but definitely burial is a lot more expensive compared to, cremation. But at the end of the day, it still costs money. You still need to plan for it. Because when families lose someone unexpectedly, there are families that just don't have the money to be able to cover those costs.
Yeah.
Unless you have something put into place, it's gonna be a hard wake up call to have to
Mhm.
deal with all that. And it's unfortunate, but the once if you have the opportunity to get that education to be able to plan, like you've said, it's gonna make life so much easier
It is.
when
It
those
is.
like situations, come up.
Yeah, I mean, I've had conversations before and just, told clients, it's like, look, when that day comes that you leave this earth, you don't want your family to have to be scrambling around trying to figure out how are they going to take care of this? How are we going to put this together for a funeral? What about all the debts? How are we going to do this? They should be able to sit back, see your plan and what your wishes are, and work with, the advisor at the funeral home, and then they should be able to sit back and grieve. They should be able to grieve and then look at, the great things that you shared and, celebrate your life versus the stress of trying to do this, trying to do that, and find the money to do it. And, I've seen way too many families go through that. Way too many. And, I'm
So we're gonna try
thankful.
to,
Yeah. I'm
yeah.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I said, and I'm thankful that didn't happen in mine, but there's just too many families that go through it.
Yeah, it is unfortunate. Yeah, I saw it many times over the years when I was in that industry. It was very like to see the families coming in and like dealing with their. It was like it was very sad and unfortunate. So we're gonna try to think positively now.
Yes, that works. Sorry, we
Let's
kind
get
of went
into a more
down. Let's go
positive.
back up. Let's bring this back up. Sorry.
So, oh no no no! I did it. Like I'm the one who created the question.
All
So,
right, there.
oh my
Like I
god.
said, they're the hard conversations. So,
Exactly, but, you know what? Someone is needing to hear this right now, so
right.
that's what it really comes down to. But so what is one moment in your career so far or your life overall where you have felt the most empowered, most seen, or most proud of who you are?
Goodness gracious. I mean, I've had a lot of moments like that, whether it's helping with different things in my family, different things in my community. But I think I'll give a couple examples. Giving back. I've done a lot of things with American Red Cross and Habitat for Humanity. And
Awesome.
building a home for someone, if you've never done it, you need to do it. Habitat for Humanity is throughout the entire US. I'm sure you can find a local branch somewhere where you are. And definitely sign up, volunteer. If you think to yourself, oh my gosh, I am so not handy when it comes to that. I'm not either. But I can tell you right now, I have built, I don't know how many walls. I have helped install cabinets. I mean, things I didn't think I could ever do. And, it was just amazing. It's an amazing experience. And being recognized, helping with that, not only from Habitat for Humanity, but just from the community. I mean, all of us volunteers were recognized. And just, it's just an amazing feeling. And talk about being seen and heard just from helping a few days, out of my time to help build a house for someone.
For
It's just,
sure. Yeah.
it's amazing. And then things I've done with the Red Cross after, of course, living in Florida, helping after devastating hurricanes, even it's just as simple as bringing somebody bottled water, just an amazing feeling. And just being there talking to someone, that lost everything because category 3 or 4 came through. And I know in the Midwest that things definitely have happened, a lot of things from a destruction standpoint with the weather.
Mhm.
And then of course 2 fires. I would say, just giving back, and it just could be just simply just time, or delivering goods, whatever it may be. But as far as other ways personally where I've really felt, I will say I'm just blessed with a great family. And I will say, there's plenty of times where I didn't really give them a chance to not have me be heard. That's just me. I'm a tad outspoken. Oh, they trust me, they're going to see me and hear me. But, just having family and friends come to gay pride with me, and acknowledging this and backing me up. And, in Orlando, after Pulse happened, that one is very personal to me. And just having, people be there, come down from other states and be there and just be like,
Mhm.
we see you, Maya. This is not right. We are here. And I mean, I can imagine if you go back and you look, I mean, all the pictures and the amount, thousands of people that came after Pulse. It was just really, being heard and seen then to, unfortunately, after a terrible tragedy.
Yeah.
But it opened so many people's eyes
Mhm.
to, wow, no, this is wrong. This is just pure hate. This is wrong. But having the backing of family and friends is, for me, the biggest thing, especially my own immediate family. And again, I'm thankful and blessed for that, from, with my siblings mostly. And yeah, I've never been more seen, personally, being involved, or being there for that terrible time. But it opened the eyes of a lot of my family members, which was great.
That is great. All right, we're going to change the tone.
Sure.
As you know, like on my episodes, I like to throw out some fun rapid fire questions.
Okay, hit me.
And these, I literally do want the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
I don't want you to have to think too much about it because that's not fun.
Of course not.
That's the whole point of rapid fire. So, and I have a few to ask. So, what is your go-to hype song before a big presentation or
Dude, I have like a ton of those. Really? I'd have to say one of them. Actually, I start my mornings off with this song a lot. Is "Get Up" by Mary Mary. If you listen to gospel, whether or not, but this one is more definitely of a pop upbeat song. It gets me motivated for my day. And yeah, it gets those positive vibes going. So, and that would be
Nice.
one I would definitely listen to quite often. Goodness gracious, yeah. But I've got a lot of those go-to songs, but that's the first one because I listen to it a lot in the morning.
That's awesome.
So yeah, that would be that one.
I like that. All right. So if you had a billboard in downtown Chicago for one day, what bold message would you put out?
Okay, let me keep this PG here. My goodness. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to think on this one because there's so many different things I would say. But to sum it up, America, we can do better. Just kind of how I felt for the last 6, 8 months. Yeah, America, we can do better. That's what I would put.
I mean, it's on point.
Yes, because
It's
it
very,
hits so many different things. So it's like,
yes,
we can do better.
I like that. Yeah. I mean, it hits so many different points. You could think
Mhm.
about that, you know, like we talked about earlier, mental health. You could talk about that politically. You could talk about that in
Mhm.
so many different ways.
Mhm.
I like that. Okay, one more question. If
Okay.
you had a petty superpower at work, what would it be?
Gosh, I'd have a little fun with it. It'd be reading minds. It would
Nice.
be.
I like that.
Yeah, yeah, 'cause I would use that one quite often.
All right. So, as we're going to end today, what key piece of advice or actionable tip could you leave our listeners today?
I think we've said it a few times, don't be afraid to be yourself. I know easier said than done, but you've got a community out there. Find them, network with them. You've got resources out there. We're everywhere, and you find that niche that what supports you, whether it be on social media or it be a local group in your community. And yeah, don't be afraid. Reach out. Don't be afraid.
I love that. Good advice.
Mhm.
Alrighty. Well, so listeners, if today's episode had you nodding along or maybe even tearing up a little, don't just keep it in your head. Let this be the moment that you take action. Empowered and Out Coaching, which is my coaching program, is here to help LGBTQ plus professionals like you get clear on your purpose, rebuild your confidence, and finally land in careers where you can fully show up without apology or compromise. And if you're ready for that kind of shift, I'd love to support you. Head to the show notes or go to www.jmbcoachingllc.com to learn more and apply. Let's build the career and life that you actually want. So Maya is a reminder that representation isn't just about being visible. It's about being vocal, empowered, and committed to the next generation. So if this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And don't forget to check the show notes, how to connect with Maya and learn more about her work in financial education and estate planning for our community. Because being empowered and out isn't just a vibe, it's a movement. So subscribe, leave a review, follow us on social media to keep this conversation going. And as always, your voice belongs in the room. We will see you next time.